Welcome, Ahmed. It's great to have you here. It's been a long time, but I'm going to get started on this webinar on the fundamentals of legal project management. So if you haven't joined us yet, scan the QR code up on screen, or you can visit app.lupl.com to register with us, and you can download our app in the App Store. For iOS, we do have an Android app in the pipeline and a desktop app coming soon, so keep your eyes out for that. So thanks for joining us as we explore the fundamentals of legal project management and how those techniques can be applied using Lupl. So I'm India Preston, as Ahmed knows, the user adoption lead at Lupl. And I know a thing or two about LPM. It's a topic that I hold very close to my heart. I've set up legal project management teams in a number of law firms in the UK, and I know firsthand that everyone has their own way of doing LPM. Some people appoint legal project managers to support this work, others upskill their lawyers to manage their matters themselves, employing good legal project management techniques. And importantly, there's no right or wrong way to do this. And so I'm going to show you how Lupl can support those LPM endeavours. And just a quick note that this session is being recorded. And if you have any questions, please do just pop them into the chat, and I'll either get around to answering those during the session or I'll reply to you afterwards. So when you leave today's session, you should understand how to apply a simple LPM process to legal work, and how Lupl can help you to manage and monitor your matters, transactions and filings. So a brief introduction to legal project management. So what is legal project management? So the application of traditional project management principles and techniques to the delivery of legal services. But let's break that definition down a little bit. Why should traditional project management techniques be applied to legal? A matter's hardly the same as constructing a multi-storey building made out of glass or implementing a new sophisticated finance system at a big corporate. So let's look at the characteristics of a project. So definite start and endpoints, short-term goals, clear deliverables. Does that sound familiar? A little like a legal matter? We all know that legal matters can be deeply complex, time-consuming, draw on large swathes of resources. So maybe a legal matter isn't that different to a traditional project after all. And so who typically manages a project from end to end? Usually a professionally trained and experienced project manager, and at a law firm, legal professionals. So it tends to be a similar role, but without that professional training. And what tools do professional project managers use to deliver their projects? How do they manage? So advanced tracking tools, collaboration tools, evaluation tools, sophisticated advanced tools that have been tailored to their industries, tools that complement their training essentially. And lawyers, well, there's email, and there are other tools out there, but there's nothing that is specifically tailored to legal matters and the way that lawyers work in delivering legal matters, tailored to the legal industry. So regardless, legal project management isn't all that far removed from traditional project management, but it's a rather softer, gentler approach that's tailored to delivering high quality legal services. And so what are the benefits of LPM? Well, you have greater control and visibility over who's doing what and how it's going. You have a more informal, more efficient lawyer-client communication with good LPM techniques. You have better resource management and much happier colleagues, improved management of cost and pricing, and all in all, that leads to a slicker client service delivery. And what does that mean for you then as legal professionals or as business professionals? Well, it means you can work faster. It ultimately saves you time. It makes you have better working relationships with your colleagues, but also with your clients. And that leads to better outcomes. So effective legal project management effectively is reducing the burden that you currently carry and face as firm leaders. And how does LPM work in practice today? Well, LPM can begin at any point in your legal matter journey, but it really kicks off when you're either in the process of defining and instructing or winning work. So this pre-matter phase, it includes coordination with other teams in your organisation, collaboration on key documents, working towards a shared deadline if that's a pitch, establishing tools and processes. So there's a lot to unpack in there, and it tends to be the more internal side before you launch into that more external type of matter delivery. And then we go into the planning phase. And so this is the most critical phase. It determines the expectations of clients, the boundaries you're working with in terms of scope, budget, time, and ultimately the success of your matter. But it's without doubt the part of the process that gets the lightest touch. Sometimes it even gets left out altogether, and it leads to problems. And I can tell you that from my own experience, and Ahmed, I'm sure you can as well. So this phase involves scoping, defining roles and responsibilities up front, managing risk, tracking and estimating your budgets, planning your tasks, planning your resources, and milestone planning. And so what's next? So then delivery. So this is the part of the process that most lawyers or legal professionals have had to manage on their own. But if they haven't been necessarily equipped with the tools or the skills to do it effectively, that's a much taller order than it seems. And so it can be the hardest part. You're managing the expectations of clients, you're managing the matter landscape and the changing landscape as things develop. And there's very little time to think beyond your current activities to plan ahead. So that delivery phase includes managing scope creep, assigning work, really good communication, document workflows, and regular reporting to keep everybody abreast of what's going on. And then finally, we move into the closing and learning phase. So another neglected part of the process that's really essential to the growth and continuous improvement of your organisation, your people, your processes. And so that's matter closure, archiving, defining your lessons learned, and then sharing your knowledge amongst your teams and your peers. So what tools do you need to be successful with LPM? Well, you need communication channels. You need task management tools. You need document collaboration tools. You need reporting tools. Again, internal as well as external reporting. And you need resource management tools. So your organisation may have some of these already. They may have all of these already, but it's more than likely that they exist in multiple apps, that different people are relying on different products, and that they're restricted to your own internal organisation's use. And so that's where Lupl comes in, as I'll show you in just a moment. So you may already have your own LPM tools ready to use. I'm going to use Lupl to show you how to be successful with LPM and how to apply it. And so for this part of the session, it would be great if you could grab a pen and paper, and I'll be asking you to complete a couple of light touch exercises that will eventually then pop into Lupl. So the pre-matter phase, that first phase in that standard structured process that we went through just now. So it's organising your internal teams before you launch into the external side. So the thing to remember here is that LPM can be used at any stage of a matter. In fact, the earlier that you start employing LPM techniques, the better. Even small projects like managing a client pitch can and should draw on LPM to support everyone in managing their deadlines and keeping everyone appraised of what's going on. And so what's involved? So you have direct communication with external parties. And then how can a tool like Lupl help with that? Well, it has an embedded informal direct chat, which you can then use with users outside of your organisation. Internal communication between lawyers and perhaps your BD and marketing or finance teams. How can Lupl help with that? Well, when you create matters, you're creating shared workspaces for matter-specific focused discussion and communication. So you can set up a matter for any type of discussion or project or matter that you need. And so in this instance, it might be that you have an internal matter that facilitates all of those matter-specific discussions. Collaboration on pitch or tender materials, so documents. Well, Lupl provides a single secure folder for sharing and collaborating on documents, so that's a great place to keep all of your documents centralized. You're managing key events and deadlines throughout the process. And in Lupl, you have a centralized calendar effectively of key matter milestones. So it's keeping everybody on track. And then multiple tasks and activities. So inevitably, you'll be having lots of tasks, lots of things that you need to assign to other people. And so Lupl provides a shared matter task list, which then also gives you visibility over the progress of each of those tasks. So centralizing those conversations, those documents, tasks, milestones for an internal coordination like this does just make sense. And it contributes to lessons learned. So you might look back and realize that a pattern's emerging, which might lead you to then create a matter template for your standard tasks during these processes. And we can talk about that in just a moment. So a little exercise for you, if you can, think of a current or past pitch that you might have worked on, and just note down a few key details. So who was involved? How did you communicate? What documents did you contribute to? What tasks were carried out? And what were the key milestones? And I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to just note down a few bits of information there. Okay, so moving into the planning phase, the next phase in our process. So great news, you've won that pitch. You've done some great internal collaboration. You're drafting your engagement letter maybe. Everyone's very excited about this opportunity. So what happens next? It's now time to do the really hard graft, and that's the planning. So as I've mentioned, this is the point at which most matters and projects most commonly fail. And so how do you get started right? Assign an LPM. So this person keeps the matter moving forwards despite the twists and turns and keeps the matter team up to date. So it's really important to have one person in charge of driving everybody else forwards and keeping everyone to their milestones and to all of those tasks that have been assigned throughout the matter. So they'll make sure that tasks are assigned, they'll manage any changes to those milestones, and they'll regularly update matter status. What else? So you need to define what's in scope. So what's expected, what are the deliverables, identify key roles and responsibilities, identify the document and document the risks and assumptions. Just as importantly, define what's out of scope. So spell out what's out of scope on your matter, define the process for escalating out of scope requests, because the consequences of scope creep can be really big. So you might have failed matters, unhappy clients, unpaid bills, written off time, and ultimately it could negatively impact your own performance. So some tips for avoiding scope creep. Employ good LPM practices. Give your team clear direction on how to handle new requests from a client, and escalate those to a partner for review as opposed to agreeing to the work immediately. Really good planning at the start. Communication. So communicate that plan to your clients, tell them what you're not expecting to do as well as what you are expecting to do. Good status updates, regular status updates, and clear communication of the expectations to your own team internally. So just moving through that planning phase, it's really important to begin by pinning all of the key matter information to the matter. Your team is going to change during a matter, that's inevitable. Everyone who's supporting at the beginning needs the same foundational understanding of exactly why you're there and what you're doing. So it's really critical, particularly as matters draw out over long periods of time, to pin that really good key information up at the start. So the key element of this is to make it accessible to everyone who might need it. So just a quick exercise here. Think of your current or past matter that you worked on. Think of the key details. So who were the key parties involved? What were the roles and responsibilities there? Where did the matter take place? What jurisdiction was it? What type of matter was it? Write 1 or 2 sentences summarising the matter and indicate if there was an estimate or whether there was a fee arrangement that you were trying to stick to. So I'm just going to give you 30 seconds just to write down those key matter details. So moving through the planning phase, the project plan. So the earlier that you start breaking down the work in granular detail and assigning it to the resources that you have available, the more accurate your pricing of the matter is going to be. And then this has a ripple effect. So the more accurate your pricing, the more likely you are to come in at budget, and the happier everyone's going to be, particularly your clients. So it'll help you to catch out of scope items before they start to happen. So breaking down tasks, a task is an actionable item. It's something that you assign to somebody. Somebody has to complete the task. It's often talked about as deliverables. It might have a deliverable attached to it. So one person should always be responsible for every task. If other people assist, that's great, but somebody has to be responsible for being able to completely tick off that task. Focus on the key activities and deliverables to start with. You can always add more detail later on. And then if you get stuck, mentally walk through the matter journey and ask yourself, and then what? And then what? What happens next? So really good planning in this phase can really improve the quality of your work, the work that the team delivers, and ultimately it makes it more cost effective and much easier to manage as a leader. So just another quick exercise, think of that current matter that you thought about just now and note down a few key activities that took place. So the key deliverables, what work needed to be completed, what was on your to-do list. So just 30 seconds to jot those down. And so final part of the planning phase, creating that detailed schedule and making sure that everybody knows exactly what is happening, what the timeline is, what those key milestones are. So milestones are very different to tasks. They're checkpoints, they're moments in time. They stand still. No one's necessarily ticking anything off. They're just points to work towards in your matter. So they're not deliverables, they're not goals. They're points in time. So it might be a definite date that a due diligence period ends. It might be a filing deadline. It might be a contract expiration date. It might be a hearing deadline. But making sure that that schedule is very clearly defined and that everyone has access to it, whether they're internal, external to your team, is really important. So just one last exercise, think of that matter again. And if you can, just note down 2 to 3 key milestones. What were the deadlines that you needed to meet for that matter? Just 30 seconds for you there. And so now with all the notes that you've written down, you're in a really good position to populate a matter or two in Lupl and see how that works. If you're in Lupl now, feel free to follow along as I populate a couple of matters. So log in now and do as I do. I'm just going to turn my camera off and I'm just going to leap into Lupl. So I'm logged in here as Eric. Eric is an associate in a medium-sized law firm called Mid-Atlantic Law. So Mid-Atlantic Law is pitching to a UK client who is merging a fast food chain company located in the UK and in Italy. So we've got offices in London and Milan. We have great experience in the industry. We're feeling confident about this one, but there is tough competition. So we're going to need to differentiate ourselves. We're going to start off by creating an internal matter. Eric's leading on this pitch alongside a colleague, Karina, and he's using Lupl to manage the team contributing to their RFP. So again, as I go through, please do feel free to follow along and create your own matter using the real notes that you have in front of you. So if you aren't familiar with Lupl yet, we do have a session called The Basics, Getting Started in Lupl, The Basics, in our support hub, which you can find down here in this little button. If you explore, and if you even just type in video, you'll be able to find that, Getting Started in Lupl, The Basics. So there is a webinar in there for you to watch, but this is the loop. This is Eric's own personal dashboard, so he can see exactly what's going on across all of his 17 matters as he starts his day. But because we are starting a new matter, I'm going to hit this Create Matter button. And so we're not going to use a template for this because this is just an internal coordination. We're going to create a matter from blank, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to put int to indicate to my team that it's an internal matter, that there's no external users coming in. And we're going to call this the Project Yellow pitch. And so I'm going to invite in my colleague, Karina. And I'm going to make Karina an admin. And so that just means that she's granted special privileges on the matter. It means she can do things like connect storage, and she can invite other team members in. So those are the two fundamental things that I'll be needing her to help me with for this matter. This invitation message, everybody receives invitations via email as well as within Lupl itself. So this invitation message will pop up. So particularly helpful if you're inviting external users and you might want to explain what the invitation's about. And this is an internal matter, so I don't need to add any conflict check names. So as quickly as that, I've set up a new matter. And so I've landed in the matter channel, which is where all of the conversation happens. It's where the history of the matter is documented. So you can see line items like this. Karina's now joined me in the matter. When team members join, when documents are uploaded, when milestones are added or changed, when matter reporting is updated, all of those lines will appear in here. And so along the top here, I can see my matter toolkit. So every matter has its own matter toolkit specific to the matter and only accessible to the people who have accepted the matter in your team. So we have documents here, and I can see that Karina has already connected Lupl storage. So the one thing that we're doing right now is working on a pitch together. So I need to just find our pitch document, and I found that on my desktop. So I'm just going to drag and drop that in to matter documents. So you do need to have storage connected to be able to use the document's features. But now that we have my document uploaded, this is now a document that's accessible to everyone on my team. And there are loads of different features that you can that you have access to. And this is actually just a .doc. If it's a docx, you can edit and collaborate on this document together. So Karina and I could both open it up at the same time and work on it simultaneously. We can tag the documents, we can send it for signature. And then if I added a second version of this document, we'd also be able to draw a document comparison between the two. So some really great features in here. You can see version history. There are all sorts of really good functionality in here that you might not have access to yourselves. So we've got that document in there now, that's been uploaded. We can both start working on that. So I'm going to add a message and just let Karina know. I'm going to tag her in the message and say, Karina, I've uploaded. I'm going to tag the document so she's got access to it. Project Yellow. She can see it up there as well, but just to tag her so that she knows that that's there. And so she might want to then start going in and taking a look and divvying out some tasks based on the content of the document. So I'm going to start off by adding my own task list. So in the task section, I can add a task list here, and I might start off by thinking about some initial activities that we all need to work on together. Now, if you remember, we're working with the UK and the London and Milan offices, so there are multiple parties involved. So first of all, we're probably going to want to assign some roles. So I'm going to give us till tomorrow to do that. And I'm going to assign that to Karina and to myself, because Karina's helping me out on this. Once we've assigned roles, we'll then be able to add some more people into our team. So something else for this pitch, we might want to assess internal capacity so that we know who we can invite in. And I might give us till the middle of next week to do that. So again, I'm probably going to assign that to myself and to Karina. I'll need her help on that. And so you can see that these have been assigned. When you assign a task in Lupl, it means that people will start to receive notifications about the tasks that have been assigned to them within 7 days of those tasks becoming due. So it's trying to give you plenty of warning, plenty of time to be able to do that. So we might also want to have a look at the profitability matrix, just to work out whether this is really going to be a matter that's worth our while to take on. So I might assign that to myself just to have a quick look. So we've got some really good shared initial activities in there. I might want to add another task list, and that might be for the corporate team when we get our team involved. So I might drag that one down below just to organise that. And I'm going to add some more tasks. So first draft due, and that might be for the UK office. So I might give them until the 24th to be able to do that. I don't have anyone to assign that to yet because we haven't decided who is going to be working in the corporate teams. Once we have invited them in, I'll then be able to assign those into the matter. So I'm just for now going to put that there. And as Eric is taking the lead as project manager on this matter, he's going to be responsible for making sure that that's assigned later. And so we'll just put first draft due for the Milan office as well. I'll probably give them the same due date, Christmas Eve, and same scenario. So we don't know who that is yet, but we'll invite them in. So one more task list that I might want to add is for Karina's team, so for the BD team. So they might have their own list of tasks. So they might want to gather existing case studies. And we might need them to do that sooner rather than later. So I'm going to assign that to Karina because she'll manage her team to be able to do that. And then maybe also schedule a Lupl demo because we'll be using Lupl on the matter when it's all started up. Again, I'll give her to the 10th to do that. But it'll be really important that everybody is in Lupl so that we can get the full extent of the collaboration features that are involved. So we've got 3 really great task lists there. Lots of things to assign, and the more that we go through this matter, we'll then be able to see exactly how it's going and who's doing what. So it might be that actually we've now assigned the roles. So I might choose to go in and tick that task off, and everybody will now have that visibility that that has been completed, and we can then go and focus on the tasks that have not yet been completed. As tasks become overdue, they will appear red, and you'll be able to see and track people with tasks that are overdue in the loop and people in your team. And that's the resource management angle that you're getting the benefit from. You might see that someone's actually just got a lot on their plate at the moment. They need a little bit of help. And you might then be able to facilitate a discussion with them to see if you can delegate out some of their tasks. Moving along to milestones, I can see that Karina's been populating these for me. So we can see that there are some key milestones already coming up in December. There's an internal review meeting on the 16th, a client call that's due on the 23rd, and our submission deadline is on the 7th of January. So at no point does anybody need to be asking any questions or routing through their emails to find these deadlines. They're all pinned to the matter and they're right there for you. So just going back to the channel, I can see that Karina had created these milestones, so that will always prompt me to go and have a check and look at those. And then she's also said, can you take a look at pages 3 to 15? Note this deadline for end of next week. And so I might just write back, thanks, will do. And it's that really informal dialogue that facilitates really great communication and great collaborative working in amongst your internal teams. So I'm going to leave this matter here for now, but you can see that pre-matter phase has been really well managed within Lupl, and now we can get started and move into a different phase. So we've won the pitch, we've gathered ourselves together, we've formed a matter team internally, and we're now ready to start working with the client and applying some great legal project management techniques to an external matter. Again, we're going to use Lupl for this. So as we go through, turn to your notes from the exercises that we did along the way, and again, create a matter and follow along if you will. So we've got a new matter. So we're working now with my client, Louisa, and Louisa has very kindly asked if I can set up the matter in Lupl because she'd really like to use this tool to work together. I'm going to create another blank matter for now. If you do have questions about creating from template, please do put them into the chat and we'll get back to you. So I'm going to call this one Project Yellow. And I'm going to invite in Louisa. So I'm going to invite Louisa, and I'm also going to invite in Flora, who's the partner at my firm. And I'm going to make them both admins for now because there's always a chance that I'm going to need their support later. You might choose just to keep admins internally only when you're setting up matters, just to keep a little bit of control over the matter. Totally up to you. For this particular matter, I do need Louisa's support on a couple of things, so I'm going to invite her to be an admin. Again, I could change this invitation message if I wanted to, and I could add conflict check names if I wanted to. For now, I'm just going to quickly set up this matter. So we've got our new matter, Project Yellow. I now have my internal Project Yellow pitch matter and a Project Yellow matter. If I want to be really organised, I can group those matters together under my matters. You just go to Group View, and I can see that Louisa's joined. So I'm just going to welcome Louisa and say, great to have you here. Again, it's creating that stickiness with your clients. So we have some tasks to take care of before we get started. Should we have a quick call to discuss those? So I've welcomed her. I've acknowledged that we have some things to do, and I've started the conversation about having a quick call to discuss those. So in our exercise, the first thing we talked about was solidifying some of those key matter details. So that's something that I'm going to do here while I'm waiting to hear back from Louisa and to communicate with her. If you go into the details tab, so this is where I was talking about pinning those details. In the details tab, you have your matter name. If your matter name changes for any reason, you can amend that just by clicking on this teal button here. Every matter has its own matter email that's set up automatically. So this is automatically generated at the when you create matters. So if there are people that you work with that are living in their emails and they might not be open to working in a new platform, that's absolutely okay. All they need to do is CC this email address and all of their emails will land directly into the matter channel. So it's keeping all of those good conversations together. So really encourage you to provide that to everybody in your team, particularly those that aren't working with you in Lupl, but still want to be able to contribute to the collaborative aspects of Lupl. Matter details. So down here, we might have conflict check names. So later on in the matter, it might turn out that there is something that I need to add. So I might just put John Smith in here and I can save that. And now we've got that conflict check name in there. Jurisdiction, well, we already know that this is a UK and an Italian matter. So I can pin those jurisdictions here and again, press save. And the matter type, well, this is a transactional matter. So again, we've got that pinned in here and everybody has access to that. And now when it comes to looking at the other notes, we might want to add a bit of scoping in here. So it might be that we say Atomic Inc. merger with Burger Magic. And it might be that Mid-Atlantic, London and Milan offices are involved. And maybe we have a fee quote that we've agreed up front really great to be able to just have that information here to hand, because as we all know, that information does tend to get lost. So that might be 1.25 million. And then we might want to just define some of those out of scope items here. So out of scope, it might be that Atomic Inc.'s expansion into sustainable packaging is out of scope. So that's something that we've just taken note of. We're not going to be dealing with. If there is a request that comes in to deal with anything related to that side of the matter, then we might just be able to have that escalation discussion and make sure that we're defining either a new fee quote which incorporates that, or we'll just simply move on to a different aspect of the matter. So I'm going to hit save. So my other notes are saved there. Now I'm going to go back to the matter channel. And I can see that Louise has said that would be great, I'm available now. And she's dropped a Zoom link into the channel here. So if you click on this button down here, that will enable you to start a Zoom call. So you only need to connect your Lupl account to your Zoom account once, and then that will be accessible to you on every single matter that you create. And so that just means that everybody in your matter team can instantly join a Zoom call. It makes scheduling a very simple affair. So that's great. So we might start having a Zoom call now. And so the next thing that we talked about in your plan, so it was creating that solid framework for your matter that keeps you and your team on track. So we might want to create some tasks. So I'm going to add a task list for matter opening. And so for that, I might need to add things such as agree scope. So we might want to agree our scope pretty quickly, but that's something that Louisa and I will both be working on together. Another task that we might need to put in here is finalise the letter of engagement and the Mid-Atlantic Law Terms of Business. So that might just be something that we haven't got to quite yet, but really important to get that done. I'm going to see if we can get that done by tomorrow. And again, that's assigned to me and to Louisa. And so there might just be one more thing here. It might be that actually we need to open a practice management system file for the matter. And that's actually something that we need to do internally. So I'm just going to make sure that that's on my side. But again, Louise is just getting some visibility over some of the processes that are involved. We might also then perhaps want to add a due diligence task list. And so again, I might drag that down just to keep that nice and organised in chronological order. And so we might need access to a virtual data room. So I might add that in there. And that's for Louisa to provide us access. Now you'll notice that I'm avoiding the notes purely from time being short, but you can add any notes that you need to in there. And you can add hyperlinks into there. We've got some really great new features coming out soon around pinning certain things. And so I'll just leave you with that little snippet of a heads up. But I am just going to add a couple more tasks in just to really give you a good feel for what you can add into here. And there might just be another task list for transaction documents. So I'm just going to add that in. I'm going to drag that down to the bottom as well. And so it might be first draft of the share purchase agreement. And I'm going to assign that to myself for now. But when I invite more people in from my team, we'll be able to start working on that together and collaborating to work towards that deadline. So you're getting a good feel over the task lists and how you can use those. You can mold them in any way that you like. It can follow a phase, it can follow any pattern that is useful to you. So matter milestones, I can see that we've already got some great matter milestones in here. So we have a kickoff call scheduled. The due diligence report is due in December, and we have a completion deadline of the 14th of January. Now I saw, you may not have seen it, but I saw a notification just come in saying that Louisa had dropped something into the channel. So I'm walking into a meeting with the board. Can you update the Pulse, please? Now the Pulse is our reporting tool. We're trying to help do away with bespoke reporting and keep things really nice and straightforward and consistent. And so the Matter Pulse is our reporting feature. It's very easy. Anyone can update the Matter Pulse. So we might update it just to say on schedule for completion. We're a bit further along in the matter now. So we're on track, but you can change that to at risk or off track. Really great to have that visibility. We might be tracking that fee quote. So actually we're quite far through now. We're 80% through our fee quote. So good, again, to be able to provide that information directly to Louisa so she can report to her board. And we might just want to update the summary here, saying that we're reviewing the completion deliverables on our side ahead of delivery on the 24th of December, which was that deadline that we put in the Matter milestones. So I've now updated that. So when Louisa now walks in, she doesn't have to check through lots of channel messages. She doesn't necessarily need to look at which tasks have and haven't been completed. She can just take a direct look at that Matter Pulse, and we can include that as much as we need to. Now, once the matter's closed, the matter owner can close the matter. Really easy to do that, so I'm just going to do that quickly now. You'll come up with this warning. So when you close a matter, you can't add any new activities to the matter. It will be removed from view, but it will automatically generate a matter archive for you. So it's trying to make that closing process really easy. And that matter archive is a human readable text file. And you'll be able to find that under the recently closed section under My Matters if you scroll to the bottom in group view, and that will be available there for everybody on your team for 90 days to download. If you're a premium user and you've connected your storage system rather than using our own storage for Lupl, that folder will automatically be added to your DMS. You don't need to do anything. It will just be sitting there for you in the shared folder. So I'm going to close the matter now, and that's going to delete the matter from view. And with that, I'm just going to leap back into my presentation very quickly, just to finish off in the final couple of minutes. So I hope that's given you a bit of a feel for how you can manage your matters more effectively in Lupl. Just to say again, Lupl has a freemium offering, so it is free for you to use in the first instance while you get your feet wet and you understand exactly how to use it. Really quickly then, so what did we achieve just now? I didn't have time necessarily to show you the full functionality of documents with connected storage, and there are various other amazing aspects of Lupl that you'll want to go in and explore yourself. But the pre-matter phase, we collaborated internally using a Lupl matter to communicate efficiently, collaborate on documents and tasks, keep each other updated and on track. We had some really great planning. We centralized key matter details. We broke down the matter into buckets of tasks, and we documented key dates and events. We delivered. So we communicated directly with our external client. We collaborated on tasks. We managed our tasks and milestones, and we delivered regular reporting. And then finally there, we used Lupl to create a human readable matter archive, a really good document of everything that had been going on, and we completed outstanding tasks, or at least we would have done if we'd managed to get all the way through. So the outcome of all of this is that we ran two matters, an internal and an external matter, with full visibility, lots of great coordination, in a timely and efficient manner, employing really good legal project management techniques to ensure that everyone knew what they were doing and when. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that that's helped to give you a good feel for how Lupl can help with legal project management. If you do have any questions, please do throw those into support@lupl.com. We have a 24/7 support team. And Ahmed, thank you so much for joining, and visit www.lupl.com for any further info. But thanks very much. Have a really good rest of your day.